The soft hum of machines filled the observation deck of the Stellar Dawn as Dr. Alan Frairen adjusted his worn glasses. His eyes were fixed on the strange readings appearing on his screen. For 3 days straight, he had noticed unusual energy patterns coming from the small blue planet below. Most of his crew members had dismissed it as normal atmospheric disturbance, but Frairen knew better. 15 years of studying alien worlds had taught him that nothing in space was ever normal. "Dr. Frairen, you should get some rest," called out Tom, one of the younger crew members. "Those readings will still be there tomorrow." Frairen shook his head, his messy brown hair falling over his eyes. "Just a few more minutes," he mumbled, reaching for his cold cup of coffee. As he took a sip, a bright flash of light filled the observation deck. Frairen jumped up, spilling coffee all over his white lab coat, but he didn't care. What he saw through the massive window made his heart stop. A ship appeared out of nowhere. It wasn't like anything humans had ever built. It looked like flowing water made of light, changing colors from blue to purple to gold. As Frairen and Tom watched with open mouths, the ship moved closer to the Stellar Dawn. The ship's captain, Robert Reed, rushed onto the observation deck. "Report. What are we dealing with?" he demanded, his voice steady despite the unusual situation. Before Frairen could answer, a voice filled the room. It wasn't coming from the speakers. It seemed to come from the air itself. "Greetings, carbon-based inhabitants of vessel Stellar Dawn. I am Rimiki of the Lumini. Your research activities have drawn our attention." The voice was neither male nor female, but it had a musical quality that made everyone feel calm. A form appeared in the middle of the deck, a swirling collection of light that slowly took on a humanoid shape. The being called Rimiki stood before them, looking like a person made of starlight. "Fascinating," Frairen whispered, forgetting all proper first contact protocols. He stepped forward, his scientific curiosity overcoming his usual shyness. "You're a non-corporeal life form, aren't you? Pure energy given consciousness." Rimiki's form sparkled, something that Frairen would later learn was their version of laughter. "And you're remarkably observant for a species so young," she responded, her form shifting to a more solid appearance. "Most biological beings run away when we first appear." Captain Reed stepped forward. "I am Captain Robert Reed of the Earth science vessel Stellar Dawn. We mean no harm. We're here to study this planet's unusual properties." "We know," Rimiki said, moving closer to Frairen's research station. "We've been watching your vessel for several days. Your methods are primitive, but your determination is impressive, especially this one." She gestured toward Frairen. 3 days without proper rest, trying to understand energy patterns far beyond your current technology. Such persistence is rare." Frairen blushed, suddenly aware of his coffee-stained coat and messy appearance. "The readings suggested intelligent design," he explained. "The energy patterns were too regular to be natural." "Correct." Rimiki's form brightened. "This is one of our research outposts. We didn't expect any species to notice our presence for at least another century. Humans are. Surprising. What happened next would change human history forever." Rimiki offered to share some of their knowledge with the crew of the Stellar Dawn. Not all of it. Humans weren't ready for that, but enough to help them understand their place in the universe better. As Rimiki explained basic concepts that made the ship's best scientists feel like schoolchildren, Frairen noticed something odd. The energy being kept directing most of her explanations to him, even when Captain Reed or other senior officers asked questions. Later, when he asked her why, her answer surprised him. "Most species seek knowledge to gain power," Rimiki explained. "You seek it simply to understand. That is rare and precious in this universe, Dr. Frairen. The Lumini believe such curiosity should be encouraged." That night, as Frairen finally rested in his quarters, he looked at the small data crystal Rimiki had given him, their first gift to humanity. He smiled, knowing that everything was about to change. Humanity had made first contact, and for once, It wasn't with beings who saw them as primitives to be conquered or ignored. The Lumini saw something in humans that even humans sometimes forgot they had: endless curiosity and determination. Little did Frairen know, this was just the beginning of an adventure that would reshape the galaxy's understanding of life itself. 3 weeks after first contact, the Stellar Dawn's research lab had changed completely. Strange devices made of light and energy floated in the air, gifts from the Lumini to help humans better understand their technology. Dr. Frairen spent every waking moment there, his excitement making him forget to eat most days until Tom brought him food. Rimiki had taken to appearing in a more solid form that looked almost human, except for the gentle glow that surrounded her. She said it made the crew more comfortable, but Frairen noticed she kept her shimmering, starlight hair, a reminder of her true nature. "Your species is truly remarkable," Rimiki said one day, watching Frairen work with their technology. "You build machines with metal and wire, yet you make them do things that should be impossible at your level of development." Frairen looked up from the energy scanner he was studying. "We're still far behind your people. Your technology seems like magic to us." Rimiki's laugh filled the room with tiny sparkles of light. "That's exactly what makes humans interesting. You see something far advanced, and instead of giving up, you try to understand it. Most species we meet either worship us as gods or treat us as enemies." Their conversation was interrupted by a soft chime. Another ship was approaching. Through the lab window, they watched a massive vessel appear. Unlike Rimiki's elegant ship, this one looked like a chunk of dark metal covered in sharp angles. "The Archive Guard," Rimiki said, her form dimming slightly. "They monitor interactions between species. They won't be happy about how much we've shared with you." The next few hours were tense. 3 beings from the Archive Guard came aboard, tall figures wearing dark suits that seemed to absorb light. They spoke in deep, echoing voices, questioning both Frairen and Rimiki about their work together. "Sharing advanced technology with biological species is forbidden," one guard said, its voice like distant thunder. "The Lumini know this law." Rimiki stood her ground, her form growing brighter. "The humans proved themselves worthy. They found us when no one else could. They learned faster than any species we've encountered." "Show us," another guard demanded, turning to Frairen. "Prove your worth, human." Frairen felt his hands shake, but he stepped forward. For the next hour, he explained how he had already adapted some Lumini concepts to improve human scanning technology. He showed them his notes, his theories, and the small improvements he had made to even the Lumini devices. The guards watched in silence. Finally, the third one spoke. "Interesting. The human makes connections we did not expect. Perhaps." Their discussion was cut short by alarms blaring throughout the ship. Captain Reed's voice came over the speakers. "Unknown vessels approaching. Their weapons are charged." Everyone rushed to the bridge. Through the main window, they saw 3 ships appearing from nowhere. They looked like twisted masses of metal and energy, giving off a sickly green glow. "The Void Collective," one of the guards growled. "They must have followed us." Rimiki moved closer to Frairen. "They steal technology from other species. They must have detected our energy signatures." What happened next surprised everyone. Instead of hiding behind the guards or Rimiki, Frairen rushed to his research station. His fingers flew over the controls as he pulled up the data he'd been studying. "The Lumini ships generate an energy field we can't copy," he explained quickly, "but we can disrupt similar fields using our own shield harmonics, if we modify our shields using this pattern." The guards watched as Frairen and Rimiki worked together, combining human ingenuity with Lumini power. When the Void Collective ships opened fire, their weapons scattered harmlessly against the modified shields. "Impossible," one guard whispered. "A biological being shouldn't be able to understand such concepts, let alone use them." The Void Collective ships, realizing their weapons were useless, quickly disappeared. In the silence that followed, the guards looked at each other, then at Frairen and Rimiki. "Perhaps," the first guard said slowly, We were wrong about humans. This exchange of knowledge, it will be allowed to continue. Under our supervision, of course. As the guards left, Rimiki turned to Frairen, her form glowing with pride. You proved them wrong. You proved that humans and Lumini working together can achieve things neither of us could do alone. Frairen smiled, finally understanding why Rimiki had chosen to share their knowledge. It wasn't just about teaching humans. It was about what humans could teach them in return. After the incident with the Void Collective, the Stellar Dawn traveled to the Lumini research outpost on the blue planet below. The Archive Guard insisted on coming along, but they stayed in their ship, watching from orbit. The outpost looked like a glowing crystal palace floating above the planet's surface, its walls shifting with waves of soft light. Inside the outpost, Frairen couldn't stop staring at everything. The walls contained moving streams of data, flowing like rivers of light. Rimiki showed him their research labs, where energy beings worked on projects that made even their ship's technology look simple. This section contains our oldest records, Rimiki explained, leading Frairen into a room that felt ancient somehow. Few biological beings have ever seen this place. Frairen noticed something odd about the data streams here. Among the flowing light patterns, he saw shapes that looked familiar. These look like DNA structures, he said, adjusting his glasses. But that's impossible. Your people are energy beings. Rimiki moved closer to the wall, her form flickering with interest. What do you mean? Frairen pointed to the patterns. Look here. These sequences, they're similar to human genetic code. Not exactly the same, but the basic pattern. His voice trailed off as he realized what he was seeing. The wall suddenly came alive with new data, responding to their presence. A hologram appeared in the center of the room, showing a spiral of energy that slowly transformed into a DNA-like structure. This can't be, Rimiki whispered, her usual confidence shaken. Our oldest records speak of a time when we had physical form, but we thought those were just stories. Frairen's hands shook as he took readings with his modified scanner. These patterns suggest both our species came from the same source, an ancient race that found a way to evolve beyond physical form. Some chose to become energy beings, while others remained in their biological state and eventually became modern humans. Rimiki finished. Her form rippled with excitement and worry. An alarm suddenly blared through the outpost. One of the archive guards appeared in the doorway, its dark form seeming to pull the light from the room. What have you discovered? It demanded. Before they could answer, more alarms sounded. The Void Collective had returned, this time with more ships. The outpost's defenses activated automatically, surrounding them in layers of energy shields. They must have followed us, the guard said. They want the outpost's secrets. Frairen looked at the data flowing around them. If they learn about this, about the connection between humans and Lumini, they would use it to force their own evolution, Rimiki said, without understanding the consequences. The outpost shook as the Void Collective's weapons hit the shields. Frairen noticed something strange happening where his scanner touched the data streams. The ancient records were reacting to his presence, recognizing his human DNA. Rimiki, look, he called out. Where the scanner's energy field met the data streams, new patterns formed. The human technology and Lumini energy weren't fighting each other. They were working together in ways neither species had imagined possible. The Archive Guard watched in silence as Frairen and Rimiki worked. They combined the scanner's field with the outpost's defenses, creating a new kind of shield. When the Void Collective fired again, their weapons didn't just bounce off. They were absorbed completely. The records don't just prove where we came from, Frairen said excitedly. They show what we can become, humans and Lumini working together. We're not just allies. We're family. The guard's dark form seemed to shift. This discovery changes everything. The council must be informed. As the Void Collective retreated again, Rimiki turned to Frairen. Her form had changed. picking up traces of the same energy pattern his scanner had created. What we found here, some will try to keep it secret, others will try to abuse it. Frairen nodded, understanding the danger, but he also saw the hope in their discovery. Then we'll have to work together to protect it, to show everyone the right way to use this knowledge. Outside the outpost, the stars seemed to shine brighter, as if they too were witnessing the beginning of something new. The universe had just become a much more interesting place, and humanity's role in it was bigger than anyone had imagined. Time moved quickly after their discovery at the Lumini outpost. The Archive Guard Council demanded more research, so the Stellar Dawn became a permanent guest at the outpost. Frairen and Rimiki spent endless hours studying the ancient records, learning more about the connection between their species. But they weren't the only ones interested in their findings. One quiet morning, as Frairen worked alone in the research lab, the lights suddenly went dark. The familiar hum of the outpost's energy field disappeared, leaving only an eerie silence. Through the window, he saw 3 Void Collective ships emerging from stealth mode. They had somehow slipped past the outpost's defenses. Before he could reach the alarm, the air shimmered, and 5 figures appeared in the lab. They wore suits that seemed to swallow light, but unlike the Archive Guard's elegant armor, these looked twisted and wrong. "Don't move, human," one figure said, its voice sounding like grinding metal. "We've come for the research data." Frairen's heart raced, but he kept his voice steady. "The data is encoded in Lumini energy patterns. You can't just take it." The leader laughed, a harsh sound that hurt Frairen's ears. "That's why we brought our own energy being." It gestured, and another figure stepped forward. This one glowed like a Lumini, but the light was sickly green and pulsed unnaturally. "They forced one of our kind to help them." Rimiki's voice came suddenly from behind Frairen. She appeared in a flash of light, placing herself between him and the intruders, using technology to trap energy beings in corrupted forms. The trapped Lumini reached toward the data streams, its green light trying to connect with the flowing information. But something strange happened. The data streams recoiled, turning away from the corrupted energy. "It's not working," the Void Collective leader growled. "Make it work, human." Frairen understood then. The ancient records responded to the natural connection between humans and Lumini. They could sense the forced, artificial bond these intruders were trying to use. "You don't understand what you're dealing with," Frairen said, slowly moving toward his research station. "This isn't just about stealing energy patterns or forcing evolution. It's about something deeper." As he spoke, he pressed a hidden button under his desk. It was something he and Rimiki had prepared, a modification to his original scanner design. The device powered up silently, its energy field spreading through the room. The leader stepped forward, weapon raised. "Then explain it to us." "Now." "I'll show you instead," Frairen said. He looked at Rimiki, who understood immediately. She spread her energy field wide, merging it with the scanner's emissions. The combination created a new pattern, just like it had during the first attack. The corrupted Lumini reacted to their combined energy, its sickly green light flickering. The artificial bonds holding it began to break down. The Void Collective members fired their weapons, but the energy blasts curved away, caught in the growing field of human and Lumini power. "What are you doing?" the leader demanded, backing away as the field grew stronger. "Showing you what real evolution looks like," Rimiki answered. Her light merged further with Frairen's technology, filling the room with a brilliant glow. The corrupted Lumini broke free of its bonds, its natural light returning. The Void Collective members tried to escape, but the Archive Guards had arrived, their dark ships surrounding the outpost. In the confusion, the intruders' own technology turned against them, their suits locking up and trapping them. When it was over, Frairen leaned against his desk, exhausted but smiling. That was too close. Rimiki moved closer, her light gently supporting him. "You understood the true meaning of our connection. Force and control will never work." Real power comes from working together freely. The freed Lumini floated nearby, its light slowly returning to normal. They don't just want to steal the research, it warned. The Void Collective is building something. A weapon to force all species to evolve according to their plan. Frairen and Rimiki looked at each other, knowing what this meant. Their discovery of the ancient connection between humans and Lumini wasn't just about understanding the past. Now they had to use it to save the future. News of the Void Collective's plans spread quickly through the galaxy. The Stellar Dawn's communication room was filled with messages from different alien species, all worried about the threat of forced evolution. Captain Reed barely slept, trying to answer them all. Frairen sat in his lab, surrounded by holographic displays showing reports from across space. Each one told the same story. The Void Collective was building massive structures on distant planets, gathering resources and energy for their weapon. They're moving faster than we thought, Rimiki said, her form shifting with worry as she studied the reports. The archive guards found 3 more of their bases yesterday. A new ship arrived at the outpost every day. Some looked like clouds of crystal, others like forests of metal and light. Each carried representatives from different species, all coming to see the human and Lumini who had discovered their ancient connection. One visitor was especially interesting. A being called First Voice from a species that lived in the songs of stars. Its body was made of waves of sound and light, beautiful but strange to human eyes. "We have watched from our stars," First Voice sang, its words creating patterns in the air. "The Void Collective tried to force us to evolve once before. We refused. But now they build something that will not take no for an answer." More visitors shared similar stories. The Void Collective had tried to push evolution on many species, failing each time. Now they wanted to force everyone to change at once. Frairen looked at all the different beings gathered in the outpost's main hall. Some breathed air, others lived in tanks of strange liquids. Some flew, others crawled or floated. Each one was unique, perfect for their own world. "That's what the Void Collective doesn't understand," he said quietly to Rimiki. "Evolution isn't about becoming energy beings or staying physical. It's about finding your own path." Rimiki's form brightened. Maybe that's why humans and Lumini split in the ancient past. Some needed to become energy to grow, while others needed to keep their physical form to reach their potential. Frairen finished. Neither path was wrong. They were just different ways forward. An alarm flashed on one of the displays. Another Void Collective base had been found, bigger than the others. First Voice floated closer, its song turning dark with concern. "They build their weapon there," it sang. "Our stars hear its wrong music growing stronger. Soon it will be ready." Captain Reed stepped forward. "Then we need to stop them. Not just humans and Lumini, but all of us. Each species here has something special, something the Void Collective couldn't force to change. Together we're stronger than any weapon," Rimiki said, her light spreading to touch each representative in the room. "Humans taught us that physical form holds powers that energy beings forgot. First Voice's people show us that even stars can sing. Every species here has gifts that make them special." The room filled with sounds of agreement in many languages. The archive guards, who had been watching silently, stepped into the light. "The Council has decided," their leader said. "This threat breaks the oldest laws of space. All species have the right to grow in their own way. We will help stop the Void Collective." Plans formed quickly after that. Each species offered what they did best. Star singers would watch from above, warning of danger. Crystal ships would shield the fighters. Metal forests would heal the wounded. Humans would bring their creativity and determination. Lumini would guide with their ancient wisdom. As Frairen watched them work together, he remembered how scared he'd been when he first met Rimiki. Now the room was full of beings even stranger than energy life forms, and he saw only friends. "We're making history," Rimiki said softly beside him. "Not just by fighting the Void Collective, but by bringing so many different species together." Frairen nodded, hope filling him despite the danger ahead. Maybe that's the real next step in evolution. Not changing what we are, but learning to see the beauty in our differences. The fleet of Allied ships dropped out of faster-than-light travel near the edge of a dying solar system. At its center, a red giant star pulsed weakly, most of its energy being drained by massive black structures, the Void Collective's weapon platforms. Frairen stood on the Stellar Dawn's bridge, watching the enemy structures through the main window. Rimiki floated beside him, her light dimmed to avoid detection. They had spent the last 3 days studying the ancient records, looking for anything that might help them stop the weapon. "Something's not right," Frairen muttered, checking his scanner readings again. The energy patterns from those platforms. They're familiar somehow. First Voice's ship moved closer, its crystalline surface singing quietly. "The raw music grows stronger," it reported. "They twist the star's song into something dark." Rimiki suddenly moved closer to Frairen's scanner. "These patterns, they're trying to copy what we discovered. They're using corrupted versions of the human-Lumini connection." The revelation hit Frairen like a physical blow. The Void Collective hadn't just stolen their research. They had found a way to twist it. Instead of natural evolution, they were forcing artificial connections between energy and matter. A flash of green light erupted from the nearest platform. When it faded, they saw hundreds of Void Collective ships appearing, each one powered by a trapped, corrupted energy being. "All ships, hold position," Captain Reed ordered over the fleet channel. "Wait for the archive guard signal." But before the signal came, one of the platforms fired a massive beam of sickly green energy. It hit a crystal ship of the Star Singers, and something horrible happened. The crystalline surface began to change, trying to transform into pure energy. The crew's screams echoed through space as their bodies started breaking down. "Stop," Frairen shouted, even though the enemy couldn't hear him. "You're killing them." "No," Rimiki said, her voice filled with horror. "Worse than killing. They're trying to force evolution without understanding how it works. Those beings will be trapped between physical and energy form, suffering forever." Frairen's hands shook as he worked his scanner controls. The readings showed what was happening. The Void Collective's weapon was using distorted versions of Lumini energy to break down physical matter, trying to force it into energy form. "There has to be a way to stop it," he said. "The ancient records showed our species chose different paths for a reason. The separation was natural, not forced." Rimiki moved closer, her light touching his hands on the controls. Where they connected, something strange happened. The scanner's energy field changed, becoming something new, not quite physical, not quite energy. "Frairen, look," Rimiki exclaimed. "Remember the outpost? When human technology and Lumini energy work together naturally." He nodded, understanding filling him. "They create something new, something that's not about forcing change, but about working together." The scanner's readings confirmed what they were seeing. Their natural connection was creating a completely new form of energy, one that existed between physical and energy states, not forced evolution, but will in cooperation. First Voice's ship moved closer, its crystal surface resonating with their combined energy. "The true song," it sang. "We hear it now. Not the dark music of forced change, but the harmony of chosen paths." The archive guard ships moved forward, their dark surfaces absorbing some of the new energy pattern. "This is what the ancient records predicted," their leader announced. "Not the domination of one form over another, but the power of working together." As they watched, the new energy patterns spread through the Allied fleet. Ships of crystal sang with new songs. Forest ships grew stronger. Energy beings glowed brighter. Human technology worked in ways it never had before. "We have to show them," Frairen said, looking at the Void Collective's platforms. "This is what real evolution looks like. Not forcing change, but growing together." Rimiki's light pulsed with determination. "Then let's show them. All of us together." The Allied fleet moved forward as one, each ship glowing with the new power born from cooperation rather than force. The true battle for the future of evolution was about to begin. The battle began with a burst of green light from the Void Collective's platforms. Their corrupted energy beams lashed out at the Allied fleet, trying to force unwanted evolution on everything they touched. But this time, something was different. Where the green beams met the combined human-Lumini energy field surrounding the Allied ships, they didn't just stop, they changed. The corrupted power transformed, returning to its natural state. The trapped energy beings powering the Void Collected ships began to break free. "It's working," Frairen called out, watching his scanner readings. "Their forced bonds can't stand against natural cooperation." Rimiki's light spread through the stellar dawn systems, working in perfect harmony with the ship's technology. The ancient records were right. You can't force evolution. It has to be a choice. First Voice's crystal ship led a group of star singers in a new song. Their music carried the combined energy field further, touching more of the enemy ships. One by one, the corrupted energy beings broke free, their natural light returning. The leader of the Void Collective appeared on their communication screens, his face twisted with anger. "You don't understand. Physical form is a weakness. Energy is the only way forward." "You're wrong," Frairen replied calmly. "Look around you. Every species here chose their own path. The star singers became one with crystal to sing with stars. The forest ships grew their technology instead of building it. Humans kept their physical form to explore and create in new ways. And some, like the Lumini, chose to become energy," Rimiki added. "But it was a choice, not a forced change. That's what makes it beautiful." The combined fleet moved closer to the platforms. Archive guard ships absorbed enemy fire, while forest ships released clouds of healing spores to help freed energy beings recover. Human ships provided covering fire as Lumini vessels danced through space, helping more trapped beings break free. But the Void Collective had one last trick. Their largest platform began to pulse with dangerous power, drawing energy from the dying star. "They're going to trigger a forced evolution wave," First Voice sang in warning. "It will affect everything in this system." Frairen looked at his scanner, then at Rimiki. They both knew what they had to do. "Everyone, fall back," Frairen called out. "Rimiki and I have an idea, but we need space." The Allied fleet moved away as Frairen modified his scanner one last time. Rimiki's light wrapped around him protectively as they pushed their connection further than ever before. The scanner's field expanded, merging with Rimiki's energy until they created something entirely new. A wave of pure golden light spread out from them, meeting the Void Collective's green wave head-on. Where they touched, the forced energy simply dissolved, transformed by the power of willing cooperation. The platforms began to break down as their corrupted power failed. The Void Collective ships lost power, their crews finally seeing the truth. It wasn't about becoming energy beings or staying physical. It was about finding the right path for each species. When it was over, the dying star pulsed with new strength, its energy no longer being drained. The freed energy beings floated among the Allied ships, their natural light restored. Even the Void Collective's leaders surrendered, their weapons transformed by the power they had tried to corrupt. "It's done," Frairen said softly, looking out at the peaceful scene. His scanner had burned out, but it had served its purpose. Rimiki's light gently supported him as he sat down, tired but happy. "Not done," she corrected. "Just beginning. Now everyone knows the truth about evolution. Each species can find its own way forward, and we can all work together." First Voice's ship moved closer, its crystal surface glowing with new patterns. "A new song begins," it sang. One of many voices, each choosing its own melody, but all part of the same great harmony. The Archive guards made it official. From that day forward, all species would be free to evolve as they chose. The ancient connection between humans and Lumini became a symbol of hope, proof that different paths could lead to the same wonderful future. As the Allied fleet prepared to return home, Frairen watched the stars' strengthening light play across the ships of so many different species. Each one was unique, special in its own way. Together, they had discovered something greater than evolution. They had discovered unity in diversity. "Ready to go home?" Rimiki asked, her light forming a gentle smile. Frairen smiled back. "Home is just another beginning now. We have a whole universe of possibilities to explore together."